Last summer, I worked as a lifeguard at a public pool with a strict no water wings policy. Those things are accidents waiting to happen. A woman started putting water wings on her child near the pool, so I politely informed her that they weren't allowed but that free life vests were available just 5 feet away. She got furious, accusing me of interfering with how she chose to care for her child. As she ranted, I called my supervisor. While he was speaking to her, the child jumped into the pool and the water wings slid up their arms, causing them to sink underwater. I immediately jumped in and pulled the child out. The mother then turned her anger on me, yelling, "How dare you lay a hand on my child? Your total is $32.23. I only have $20. Can I still take it? No." In high school, I worked at a local hardware store where we also refilled propane tanks for gas grills. After doing 10 or more tanks daily over a couple of summers, I became skilled at estimating how full a tank was just by lifting it. One sweltering day, a customer brought in a tank and asked for a refill. I picked it up and told him it was already full and didn't need refilling. He looked irritated and insisted he had checked, and it was empty, demanding I refill it. I asked how he had checked, as there are a few methods, like weighing it using a thermal strip, which his tank didn't have, or pouring hot water down the side and feeling where it cools. His answer left me stunned. He said he had checked by holding a cigarette lighter near the valve and opening it. I told him, "You should write to your congressman because they saved your life. This tank has an OPD safety valve that stops gas from leaking unless something is connected." He left silently, his face bright red. At the fast food place where I worked, the ice dispenser broke. While waiting for a technician to repair it, we set out a large bowl of ice with tongs beside the soda fountain so customers could still get ice for their drinks. About 10 minutes after setting it up, a customer complained that the machine wasn't dispensing ice. I explained, "We're aware, and a repairman has been called." Meanwhile, there's a bowl of ice next to the soda fountain. He got annoyed and asked, "How do I know that ice hasn't been sitting there all day?" I stared at him for a few seconds before replying, "Because it's still solid. If left out, old ice would just melt into water. I want to speak to your manager." "How many pieces are in a large pizza?" "8. And a medium?" "8. All right, smart guy. How many pieces in a small?" "8. How can a large and a small have the same number of pieces?" "Because we cut them the same way." "That's ridiculous. Let me speak to your manager." I called the manager over and he had the exact same discussion with the customer. This situation has repeated itself several times. Why is it so hard to grasp? When I was 18, I worked at EB Games in a Canadian city known for its rednecks. One day, a man in his 40s spent over 3 hours browsing every game on display. He turned down my help multiple times, but eventually approached the counter with 5 new games, spanning nearly every console we had. After paying for his selection, which included hunting, racing, and fighting titles, he left. Hours later, he returned. He burst through the door, red-faced, yelling, "What kind of mess are you running here?" He stormed up to the counter, slammed the bag of games down, and ranted, "None of these work. This is a terrible store." After a minute of shouting, he paused and I calmly asked, "You tested these games on your Xbox, PC, and PlayStation, and none worked?" He replied, "I just bought a new player from Walmart this afternoon, and none of these games work." It turned out he had no idea what his disc player was. After showing me his Walmart receipt, we discovered he'd purchased a DVD player. I briefly worked in call centers and encountered some very unusual people. Me, "Are there any lights on the modem?" Customer, "No, it's unplugged. I disconnected it because I didn't like the lights." Me, Well, it needs to be plugged in to work." Customer, "I don't want to get out of bed. Can't you send a signal from your side?" Me, "Okay, no, it's physically disconnected. You'll have to plug it in yourself." Customer, "I don't understand why you're making this so complicated." I work at Walmart stocking shelves in the grocery section. One busy day, a woman with a crying child around 5 years old approached me and said, "My kid is driving me crazy. Watch him while I shop." I explained it wasn't my job to watch children. I had tasks to do in the back, and he couldn't come with me. She then said she'd leave her child with me, and if anything happened, it'd be my fault. I replied that if she did, I'd take him to customer service, say he was lost, and have them page her until she returned. She started walking away anyway, so I took the child's hand to bring him to customer service. Suddenly, she screamed, "Where are you taking my son?" I froze, but luckily other customers had overheard the exchange and explained the situation to my manager, who escorted her out of the store. Customer, "Can I get a Big Mac, poutine, and a large double coffee?" Me, "Sure, I'll make that a combo for you since it's cheaper." Customer, "I don't want a combo. I want a Big Mac, poutine, and a large double. No combo." Me, "Ma'am, those 3 items together are a combo. I can charge you separately for more, but the combo costs less." Customer, she sighs, "I said no combo, just let me pay." She paid $4 extra because she refused to acknowledge it was already a combo. Customers can be baffling at times. I used to work as a photographer in a studio located next to an optician's office. One day, I ended up having an extended chat with an elderly gentleman who was there for glasses, though neither of us realized he was in the wrong place. Him, "Hello, I'm Mr. McFake Namington, here for my appointment." Me, "That's strange. I don't see your name on our schedule, but I can take a walk-in. Just fill out this form." As he completed the paperwork, we chatted about potential mix-ups that might have caused the missing appointment. I attributed it to human error and reassured him we could proceed shortly. Him, "How long do these appointments usually take?" Me, "Typically they last 1 to 2 hours depending on the individual." Him, "That's quite a while." Me, "It usually goes faster for individuals. Families with kids tend to take longer, and the most time-consuming part is deciding which ones you prefer." Him, "After I've chosen, do you make them here? When will they be ready to pick up?" Me, "We send your order to a lab, and it's usually back in about a week or 2. Him, "Do you have frames I can look at?" Me, "Not really. We offer some pre-framed items, but most customers bring their own frames from elsewhere." Him, "That's absurd. How can you not sell frames here?" Me, "Well, nearby stores carry them, like the department store next door or even the pharmacy." Him, "But you'd at least set the frames up for me, right?" Me, "No, but it's usually simple to do yourself. Most frames have easy-to-use latches. Honestly, you could handle it as well as I could." Him, "I can't even try anything on today. How will I know how it looks? And how do you measure for the frames if I don't have them?" Me, "I'm sorry, I don't understand." Him, shouting, "So you expect me to buy glasses I haven't seen, for frames I don't own, and then assemble them myself?" At that moment, it hit me. I explained that I was a photographer, pointing to the family portraits around the room and the portrait studio sign above us. I directed him to the optical office next door. He looked embarrassed, so I walked him over to ensure he found the right place. This entire exchange happened in a room full of family photos. Clearly, the poor man needed those glasses. Early in my waiting career, I experienced one of the dumbest moments of my job. I was serving a family of 4 who all ordered ice water. After bringing their drinks, the mom waved me over a few minutes later. "Mom, the outside of my glass is wet." I stared at her glass and noticed the condensation on the outside. Me, "That's condensation. It happens when ice water is in a room temperature glass." She looked at me like I was speaking an alien language. It was then I realized that this was my future as a waiter, dealing with people like this. Trying to appease her, I grabbed a towel, wiped the glass dry, and handed it back to her. A friend told me this hilarious story from her time working in a camera store during the early 90s, back when film cameras were the norm. A woman came in wanting her photos developed and handed my friend the entire camera, which wasn't unusual as many people didn't know how to remove the film. After inspecting the camera, my friend noticed something odd. Friend, ma'am, there's no film in this camera. Woman, that's fine. I still took the pictures. Friend, but there's no film in it. Woman, I know, but I pressed the button, so the pictures are in there. Please develop them. Friend, you need film in the camera to take photos. Woman, it doesn't matter. I pressed the button. The pictures are there. Just get them out. This back and forth continued until the woman, convinced my friend was incompetent, stormed off in frustration. My laptop won't turn on. Have you plugged it in to charge the battery? No, it's a laptop. It doesn't need to be plugged in. Ma'am, the battery still has to be charged. Listen, this is a laptop. During a summer job in college, I worked for a tour bus company in Washington, D.C. While driving past the Washington Monument, a woman asked me, how do they make all the flags fly in the same direction? When I was a waitress, I once had a customer complain that I put too much ice in her water because it would dilute the flavor. I honestly didn't even know how to respond to that. A customer once returned a laptop she had bought the day before, insisting it was broken. She explained that it wouldn't open. I asked if she meant Windows wasn't starting or if a program wouldn't load. She clarified that the laptop itself physically wouldn't open. I took it out of the box, opened it easily, and looked at her. She stared in shock, then said, "Oh, it opens that way. My sister and I spent an hour last night trying to open it and couldn't." She had been trying to pry it open from the hinge side.